Good afternoon, everyone. I welcome you to the training program for healthcare workers to my session on the use of steroids, anticoagulants, and repurposed drugs. Our learning objectives today would be learning about the available therapeutic options, the correct indication and timing, and the usage of various drugs in COVID-19 according to the latest guidelines of Government of India, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, and the correct indications and timing of their use, because it is very important to learn that it is not only you should be knowing where to give that drug, but also when not to give that drug. So the contraindications to various therapeutic modalities, and about the repurposed drugs, like various drugs came with a bang but actually proved unworthy and later on rejected in various trials and also from the guidelines. So from all the gamut of different drugs or pharmacotherapy, we have antivirals, anticoagulants, anti-inflammatory drugs, and other supplements. And of course, oxygen is at the center stage of it. And the anticoagulants and anti-inflammatory therapy, like the steroids, are the cornerstone of available pharmacotherapy against COVID-19. And in this session, we would be focusing on steroids, that comes under anti-inflammatory category, anticoagulants, and repurposed drugs. Oxygen would be dealt later in different subsequent sessions, and supplements will also be dealt later with. So to understand better about the pathophysiology of virus and the host response, if it is plotted, the severity is plotted against time, then this is how we get a graph, which is further divided into three phases: stage 1, 2, and 3. So stage 1 is of early infection, that is around for 5 to 7 days. Stage 2 is the pulmonary phase, that begins at somewhere around the end of first week and goes up to the second week. And the stage 3 is hyperinflammation phase, and it is representative here of what different phases we have, and it can be overlapping. It's not necessary that only after 7 days it will finish, but this could vary in different individuals. But the important thing that is to be understood is that during the first stage, the role of antivirals come into play, and during the second stage, the role of anti-inflammatory drugs like steroids come into play. Also, anticoagulation is warranted in the second phase. So many a times we would have seen that patients come to us uh, in mild disease, the history of mild disease, and they had already had steroids and anticoagulants prescribed by some person, some doctors or their relatives, or even by themselves also. So that is a wrong practice. So you should never give steroids in early phase of infection. Rather, antivirals should be started. That too under medical supervision. And in stage 3, again, anticoagulants and anti-inflammatory drugs like steroids are continued depending on the patient's response. So coming to discuss the major anti-inflammatory drug, that is steroids or corticosteroids, we are coming to our first subsection of this presentation. So the steroids can be used as either IV route or oral route, that is the systemic variety, or inhalational route. And it is not the first time that in COVID-19 the steroids are being used for respiratory concern. Previous diseases due to coronavirus like SARS, MERS, and severe influenza sometimes, the steroids have proved their worth, and they have been really helpful in alleviating ARDS. And it is very important to know that correct timing is important. In SARS, the viral replication used to peak in the second week, while in COVID it is it is there in early in the illness and declines thereafter. So antivirals have a role early in the treatment, and in second week there is role of steroid, that is dexamethasone. So greater mortality benefit of dexamethasone in COVID-19 was seen amongst those recruited after the first week of their illness, and that suggests that at that stage the disease may be dominated by immunopathological elements with active viral replication playing a secondary role. So this is a notable fact, and it is likely that the beneficial effect of steroids in severe viral respiratory infection is dependent on the selection of right dose at right time in the right patient. High doses may be more harmful. You would have noticed that sometimes a patient comes in the emergency with moderate disease, and we start steroids, and later on day 2 or day 3 the conditions start worsening. So at that time we tend to increase the dose. Many times we have seen it that many clinicians they tend to increase the dose, but actually this is not a very good practice. It has led to harm. And when we start steroids early in the disease, it has also been seen that it has caused more harm to the patient than benefit. So right time to right patient is very, very important. So we have to start steroids somewhere around the second week, and that too when it is indicated. So what are the indications? So first you see the dose equivalence. There are different varieties of steroids which are available. One is dexamethasone, other is prednisolone, methylprednisolone, and hydrocortisone. So 6 mg of dexamethasone is equivalent to 150 milligram of hydrocortisone. So 150 milligram of hydrocortisone is divided into 3 doses, that is 50 TDS. It is equivalent to 32 milligram of methylprednisolone, that is can be given in twice or thrice a day, and 40 milligram of prednisolone, again or in single or divided doses. Then coming to the indication, according to the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare ICMR and AIMS guideline, we have two major steroids which can be given, that is methylprednisolone and dexamethasone. Either of them can be given. So 0.5 milligram to 1 milligram per kg of methylprednisolone and 0.1 to 0.2 milligram per kg of dexamethasone. It is to be given for a duration of 5 to 10 days, and maybe again extended depending on the situation and situation warranted. And later on, if the patient is fine, is having orally, and the requirement of oxygen has decreased, so the patient can be switched to oral route. So one more most important thing is that steroids are only to be given in moderate or severe disease. So in moderate to severe disease, that means when the SpO2 has fallen below 93 or below 90 in severe cases. So below 93 or equal to 93, that is moderate cases, and below 90 it is severe cases. So only in moderate and severe cases we have to give, not in mild cases. And the dose in severe disease is slightly higher, that is 1 to 2 milligram per kg IV in two divided doses, or 0.2 to 0.4 milligram per kg of dexamethasone. It is given once a day. Methylprednisolone is given twice in 1 to 2 mg per kg, and dexamethasone is given 0.2 to 0.4 mg per kg. Duration is again the same, and it may be extended depending on the situation. So this is the guidelines, a flow chart or algorithm you can say. So patient who's having moderate disease, I'll zoom it up. So this particular section we are concerned with. The pinkish one or the reddish one here is denoting the moderate disease, and this one, the yellowish one, is denoting severe disease. So here you can see the dosage, what I just told you about. You can, this one we are concerned with, okay, and this is the severe one. Here the dosage are 1 to 2 mg per kg. Here the dose is 0.5 to 1 mg per kg of methylprednisolone. Here it is, and again dexamethasone may be given with an equivalent dose, that is 0.2 1 to 0.2 mg per kg, and here it is 0.2 to 0.4 mg kg of dexamethasone. The duration is 5 to 10 days. Again, just to repeat it. So you can recapitulate here. Okay, coming to some special scenarios. Suppose a patient is already having steroid therapy, like a patient of ITP or a patient of lupus, then these steroids, even in mild diseases of COVID-19, are not to be withdrawn. So the patient who is having a steroid therapy for a primary disease like SLE, he may continue to have steroids for that, because stopping them may lead to exacerbation of the primary disease, and it can further complicate COVID-19. So in only those cases of COVID-19, mild COVID-19, steroids can be given if they have been on for a particular primary disease. Then if someone has a bacterial infection, then also under appropriate antibiotic cover, depending on the culture and sensitivity, we can give steroids if indicated. Patients with diabetes, we have to be really careful about the blood sugars, and you have to control adequately with insulin. In pregnancy also, if the woman presents with mild or moderate COVID-19, the clinical benefits with the antenatal mother, if the can be, if they outweigh the risk, then it can be given. So coming to inhalational steroids, this is the only variety of steroid which can be given to a patient who is having mild disease. Otherwise, the systemic therapy we were giving to moderate and severe patients. Here, a budesonide meter dose inhaler or a drug powder inhaler can be given to the patients who are having mild disease. So coming to anticoagulants, as you know that thromboembolism secondary to COVID-19 results in higher mortality, and a vast majority of patients present with undiagnosed thromboembolism following COVID-19. Anticoagulation in moderate to severe cases of COVID-19 is advisable and has really been helpful and prevented mortality. The preferred drug of choice is enoxaparin, that is a low molecular weight heparin. Sometimes unfractionated heparin can also be given. Post-discharge prophylaxis may be considered in some patients where the risk of thromboembolism is higher, and after assessing the bleeding risk. So again, just like steroids, anticoagulants are also given in moderate and severe cases only, not in mild cases. So in moderate cases, the preferred drug is enoxaparin, which is the low molecular weight heparin, 0.5 milligram per kg body weight per day subcutaneously. The contraindications are, of course, active bleeding and any emergency surgery. In end-stage renal disease, it should be avoided, but if it has to be given, then unfractionated heparin, because of its lower half-life, is to be preferred. In severe disease, the dose is just double, that is 0.5 milligram per kg per dose, subcutaneous twice a day. In moderate, it was once a day. Here we get twice a day. The contraindications are same. Special consideration: if anticoagulant therapy is prescribed during pregnancy prior to a diagnosis of COVID-19, it can be continued even in mild diseases. For pregnant patients hospitalized for severe or moderate COVID-19, prophylactic dose of anticoagulant is recommended unless contraindicated. So a low molecular weight heparin can be given. And after discharge, the continued use of anticoagulant, that is oral anticoagulant, is not indicated in pregnancy. Again, this is the guidelines, and you can again see this, that okay. So coming to the repurposed drugs, we have different categories of repurposed drugs. Some are antiviral, some are anti-inflammatory. So and some are anti-helminthic drugs, and some are anti-malarials. So what is a repurposed drug? So it is a drug which is whose use is established for a particular disease, but it is being hypothesized that it is of some use in COVID-19 or the disease of concern. So hydroxychloroquine, we all know that it is an anti-malarial drug. The use of hydroxychloroquine is indicated in our guidelines only in mild disease. It is to be given as 400 milligrams twice a day on day 1, and followed by 400 milligram once a day for 4 days unless contraindicated. Few trials have shown that it is not of much benefit. It started with a lot of media coverage and propaganda, but actually didn't prove to be very worthy of it. And the level of evidence of therapy was also pretty low. Adverse effects are known for QT prolongation. So if a person has heart disease, we should be very careful in it. And non-specific complaints like headache, dizziness, and rash may also occur. So it is to be given only in mild disease. Ivermectin, again, it is a anti-helminthic drug, and few studies in vitro, that is in laboratory, have shown that it has got anti-SARS-CoV-2 function, but no in vivo study or human trials have proved that it is of much use. And WHO only recommends its use in clinical trials and not otherwise. But in our guidelines, it is there and can be given in mild COVID patients. So both hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin can be given in mild COVID patients. The dose of ivermectin is 200 microgram per kg per day for 3 days. Adverse effects are pruritus, rash, myalgia, and abnormal liver function tests. Remdesivir is an antiviral drug, and there was a lot of hue and cry about its procurement, its availability. But it is why it is repurposed, because earlier it was being used for hepatitis C and also for Ebola virus. And after trials, the Solidarity trial proved that it showed no positive results in terms of mortality benefit. It only showed positive results in terms of recovery or the discharge, the time of discharge, that the patient were being discharged earlier. And also when these drugs were started on those patients who were having moderate disease requiring low flow of oxygen. Whenever the patient required higher flow of oxygen, therapy actually didn't prove to be much useful. So only those patients who were having moderate disease and they were doing well on low flow oxygen, then when we started remdesivir, it was showing positive results in terms of recovery and not in terms of mortality benefit. Also, before starting this drug, patients should have none of the following contraindication. There should be no renal or hepatic dysfunction, that is GFR should not be less than 30, or AST, ALT should not be more than 5 times. Patient should not be pregnant or lactating. In children who are less than 12 years of age, this drug is not indicated. Patients who are not on oxygen support or in home settings, the drug is not indicated. The dosage of the drug is 200 milligram IV on day 1, followed by 100 milligram IV daily for 4 days. That is a total of 5 days. No use in further continuing this drug. Other antiviral drugs like favipiravir, that was a antiviral drug used to treat influenza. It was endorsed in Japan, and it was quite rampantly used here in India for COVID-19, but there was no significant effect seen, and it is not indicated at all. Lopinavir, ritonavir are anti-HIV drugs, and they have no role in COVID-19 and are not indicated. 2-deoxyglucose is a modified glucose, and it has been developed by DRDO and is recommended by it. DCGI, that is the Drug Controller General of India, has permitted the use, but it is still not there in the guidelines. The mechanism is not very clear, and it is to be used only as an adjunctive treatment and causes early recovery. So it is yet to come under the guidelines. There are immunomodulators which were used for rheumatoid arthritis and are now being repurposed to be used for COVID-19. One is tocilizumab and other is baricitinib. So tocilizumab is IL-6 inhibitor, and it inhibits the IL-6 receptors, blocks the signal transduction, and calms the inflammatory response. So the tocilizumab indication are severe and rapidly deteriorating disease, raised IL-6 or CRP. There should be no bacterial or fungal infection, and we should be the patient should actually already had steroids, and he was not showing good response on steroids and not improving on steroids. We should be very clear about the adverse effects. It could be infusion-related allergenic reactions, deranged liver function, and late onset secondary infection. So that is very important, that the patient can develop secondary infections later on. Disseminated strongyloides is also seen. So you should be very careful about choosing tocilizumab and when is the correct timing of beginning of this particular drug. A JAK1 inhibitor, baricitinib, is a oral drug. It is anti-inflammatory or immunomodulator, but it is oral. And in certain circumstances where steroids cannot be given, it is being tried with remdesivir. So baricitinib and remdesivir trial has been done in those patients who are unable to receive steroids due to certain reasons, and the dose is 4 mg oral once a day for 14 days. Again, the complications could be immunosuppression, can cause cytopenias, could be thrombocytopenia or leukopenias, and some thrombotic adverse effects are also being reported, and of course normal liver function tests. So in almost all the repurposed drugs, we have seen that they are somehow causing damage to liver, so we should be very careful in monitoring liver function tests before starting the drugs and after starting them. Convalescent plasma was also initially thought to be really effective, and there was much hype about it. What it is actually, it contains antibodies against SARS-CoV-2 in those patients who have actually recovered from the illness, and the antibodies are collected and they are transfused to some other patient who is fighting against COVID-19. Theoretically, it should suppress the virus and modify the inflammatory response, but we have sufficient data from various randomized controlled trials that has not demonstrated the efficacy or effectiveness of convalescent plasma therapy for COVID-19. It was earlier being used as an emergency use authorization, but WHO trials and ICMR trials didn't prove to be of any use in mortality benefit. So currently it has been withdrawn from the guidelines and are not to be advocated. There is another cocktail therapy, you can say, of casirivimab and imdevimab, which has received emergency use authorization, and is given as a single dose in early disease. So it is not being given in moderate or severe disease. It is to be given early in the course. So in non-hospitalized patients with mild to moderate disease who are at risk of clinical progression, and as soon as possible, but before 10 days. Similarly, in remdesivir also, we should give it before 10 days from the symptom of onset. Later on, it is also of not much use. So that is all about it. So amongst the repurposed drug, the only drugs which are in guidelines for mild disease are hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin. The drugs which are in guidelines for emergency use authorization are tocilizumab and remdesivir. Remdesivir should be given only in moderate to severe cases, and so should be tocilizumab in moderate to severe cases. Anti-SARS-CoV-2 antibodies are still not in the guidelines, although they have received EUA. Plasma therapy has been withdrawn, and the final take-home message for today's presentation are that there are many drugs available for treatment of COVID-19, but not all are indicated. Right drug at right time in right dosage is the key to success. Prophylactic anticoagulation prevents thromboembolism and are indicated in moderate to severe disease. Corticosteroids again are indicated in moderate to severe disease. Repurposed drugs such as antiviral should be used rationally with caution, especially keeping in mind the adverse effects on liver. So I hope that all of you must have listened carefully and would practice all this teaching in your uh, clinical practice. Okay, thank you.